welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. It's been a sec. Thanks for all of the love on my climbing video. I love climbing, so I'm super excited and happy to see that you guys enjoyed that video as well. And before we jump in, I wanted to give you a little bit of an update of what you can expect from me and the channel going forward, because I had done a lot of different types of content. It's so busy for me, and it's just me doing these videos. I don't have an editor or a graphic designer or anything like that. It takes a ton of time, so I'm going to commit to doing 2 videos a week. One that's going to be a Premier League match prediction, game week prediction video that will drop every Thursday, Friday-ish. I have to kind of see what day works best for me. And then one that will be a Chelsea review that will drop a couple of hours or the day after the Chelsea game. So those are the 2 videos, and then anything else that drops is going to be bonus content, but that's what I can commit to at this point in time, because it takes so much time to produce these videos, and it's just me. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the new season that we have coming ahead as well, and maybe once I get into a rhythm, I'll be able to do a bit more. We'll just have to wait and see. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that it's game week 1 Premier League prediction. So let's get into these predictions. Basically how this works is I'm going to go through all 10 Premier League games and kind of do a rapid fire-ish. I'm going to take a look at all 10 Premier League games that are coming up this weekend, give my thoughts, and give a score prediction. And I want to play a game with you guys as well. So for every score that either of us get 100% right, that's going to be worth 5 points. If we get the winner right or whatever, like if we get that it's a draw right, that's going to be 1 point. And then if we get the number of goals right on either side, that's going to be worth 2 points each. I think that that's going to be a fun game. Those are going to be the rules. And what I'll do for the chat is that if anybody in the chat gets any of these right, I'll award the point to the chat. So make sure that you're commenting your thoughts along with this so that you can beat me, because chances are you will. But without further ado, let's get into this Premier League prediction video. First up, we have Manchester United versus Fulham. Man United are coming off of a loss versus Man City in the Community Shield, so they're going to want to get their Premier League campaign off to a winning start, especially after that 8th place finish last season. But unfortunately, they do have a lot of players missing through injuries and their new signing, as Rayo and Matthias de Ligt probably aren't ready to feature or at least start just yet. Fulham, on the other hand, had their main signing be Emil Smith-Rowe from Arsenal, but they did lose 2 of their starters in Palhinha, who went to Bayern Munich, and Tosin, who went to Chelsea. So they are looking a little bit weaker perhaps than they did last season. Rodrigo Muniz, on the other hand, might be a cause for defense for the Manchester United defense if he can carry on his form that he had at the end of last season. In the corresponding fixture last season, Fulham actually beat United 2-1, but I don't think I can see that happening again, so I'm going for a 2-1 United win. Next up, we have newly promoted Ipswich Town versus Liverpool, and what a fixture for them to begin their Premier League campaign with. Liverpool have looked in extraordinary form in preseason. Obviously, it's preseason, so we have to take it with a grain of salt. In their new era, they won 4 out of their 5 preseason games. They haven't made loads of signings, but they're looking like a well-oiled team, and they're going to look to keep that possession and intense style of football that they've been playing for the past couple of years. Meanwhile, Ipswich Town, I have such a hard time pronouncing that, Ipswich. Let me know if I'm pronouncing it wrong, by the way. I think that's how you pronounce it. They're newly promoted to the Premier League after 22 years. They have been doing a bit of transfer business in the summer transfer window to boost their squad ahead of their Premier League campaign. They're very strong in set pieces. They scored 19 goals from set pieces last season, which was the 2nd most in the championship, but their manager, Kieran McKenna, came out and said that they're not going to be able to be as open. They might have to close off a bit in the Premier League, so they might not get as many opportunities to have those set pieces, so they'll need to adapt for that. Ultimately, I think this should be a pretty straightforward game. I can't see a world in which Liverpool lose this game, so I'm going to go for a 3-0 Liverpool win. Next up, we have Arsenal versus Wolves, and Arsenal are going to be looking to put an end to Manchester City's reign in the Premier League, finally get their Premier League title after coming extremely close close the past 2 years, and they've had a very positive preseason in the lead up to the start of this season to really get them into full force. Against Wolves, they've won each of their last 6 games, so it's looking like they could do more of the same. And keep an eye out for Martin Odegaard, who's actually scored the most goals versus Wolves versus any other team for the many goals that he scored. On the other hand, Wolves have failed to beat Arsenal in the league since February of 2021. They've had a bit of an up and down preseason, but they do have massive losses, with Pedro Neto going to Chelsea and Max Kilman in defense going to West Ham, and they haven't necessarily filled those spots yet. Matheus Cunha is the player that's most likely to threaten Arsenal's defense, with 22 goal involvements in 36 games last season, but again, I just can't see Arsenal losing this one. So I'm going for a 3-0 Arsenal win. Now we have Everton versus Brighton. It's been a busy summer for Everton. They've made loads of signing Jake O'Brien from Lyon amongst others, and Brighton have brought in Fabian Hurseler as their new head coach to replace Roberto De Zerbi, and he's the youngest head coach in Premier League history at just 31 years old. Like, that's a year older than me. That's absolutely insane. I can't imagine it. Their most notable signing is Mats Wiper, who should be a defensive presence in their midfield and sturdy up their defense. This one I can kind of see going either way, especially in the start of a Premier League campaign, but I've gone with a 1-1 draw. Now we have Newcastle versus newly promoted Southampton. Newcastle are coming off of a great preseason. They've won 4 out of their 5 preseason games. However, they do have quite a few injuries, but at the end of the day, I think that they just have a lot of attacking power. Isak has looked phenomenal in preseason as well. Gordon's looking good. Murphy scored a ton of goals in preseason, and I just think that is going to be a bit too much firepower for Southampton. Their newly promoted side, it's a big challenge for them. While they have tried to bolster their squad and make improvements, I just feel like Newcastle are going to be winning this game. So I've gone for a 3-0 Newcastle win. Next up, Nottingham Forest versus Bournemouth. This is another interesting one. Forest finished in 17th last season, but I was reading an article today that said Forest fans are actually some of the most excited about their side out of all of the Premier League fans, so I'm keen to see how they get on. Reinforce their squad. They're really going to be hoping that the likes of Gibbs-White and Hudson-Odoi will be able to find consistent form. On the other hand, for Bournemouth, they have made a massive sale in the past couple of days, selling Dominic Solanke to Spurs. They did sign Enes Unal from Getafe, but I don't think that that's necessarily going to be like the replacement, considering how many goals Dominic Solanke scored last season. I do think this is going to be a tight one. I can kind of see it going either way, but I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Next up, we have West Ham versus Aston Villa. I'm really excited for this game as well, because I do think that it's going to be pretty tight in my mind. Like, these teams are both really special and have a lot of exciting things. So first up, West Ham, Jared Bowen has just been made the captain after he scored 16 goals last season. Lopetegui replaces David Moyes as the manager, and Max Kilman is brought in from Wolves to bolster their defense. Taking a look at Aston Villa, they've actually been quietly doing really good transfer business over the course of the summer. They've brought in Ian Maatsen from Chelsea, Amadou Onana from Everton as well, and they finished in 4th last season, so they have Champions League football. We'll have to see how they balance being in the Champions League plus all of their Premier League games, because sometimes teams can struggle with having both of those competitions, and especially with the Champions League, you always want to do well and focus on that, so sometimes the Premier League results could slip, but we're in August, so we don't have to think about that right now. I do think that this is going to be a very tight contest, but I'm predicting for Aston Villa to just nick it, so I'm going for a 1-2 Villa win. Now we have Brentford versus Crystal Palace. 5 of the last 6 times that these two have played each other has ended in a draw, so Wouldn't be surprised to see a draw in this game. Brentford brought in Thiago from Club Brugge to aid in the attack, and on the other hand, Crystal Palace really finished the season very strong. While they lost Olise to Bayern Munich this summer, they were able to hold on to Eze and Mateta. It is looking at the time of recording this video that Mark Gurhi might be going to Newcastle, so they could potentially have a pretty big loss in their defense if that does go through. But I do think that they're going to have like the ability to win this game. I feel like it's going to be tight, but something is just kind of pushing me towards Crystal Palace. So I'm gonna go for a 1-2 Palace win. Next up, we have arguably the game of the opening fixture, game week 1. It's not just because I'm a Chelsea fan, it's Chelsea versus Man City. I honestly like hate having such big Premier League games like right off, because I feel like teams are still a little bit wonky from preseason. They don't have that much fitness, and I'd much rather see this later in the season, but that's neither here nor there. So Chelsea versus Man City. Chelsea have signed yet again a load of players in this transfer window. I am struggling to see how they all fit in or what the vision is for signing all of these players. They've had a very wonky preseason. Cole Palmer's come back late. I don't know if he's going to start. I don't think he's going to start. Maybe he would feature, come off of the bench at some point. And Nkunku has looked pretty good. So he's looked like scoring in preseason. But then you have Man City. While they haven't had many signings, if not any, but they have kept a hold of key players that were linked with moves away from the club, like Ederson and De Bruyne. So at the end of the day, like, this is Man City. They're still just looking like as fire as they always do. And while in this fixture last season, Chelsea drew 4-4 in what was one of the craziest fixtures that I've ever experienced, and definitely the game of the season in my opinion. I just don't know if Chelsea have the capacity to do that at the moment with the amount of new signings that they've brought in and a new coach and not having so much time under him. So I do think that City, unfortunately for me being a Chelsea fan, are going to win this. I've gone with a 3-1 City win. Obviously, I hope that this isn't the case. I hope that I am surprised and wrong, but let's see. And finally, we have Leicester versus Tottenham. So Leicester actually look like they could arguably be worse off than they were when they won the championship last season. They've lost Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. He's gone to Chelsea, who was one of their best players and key goal scorers last season. Obviously, they've lost Maresca as well, gone to Chelsea. A lot of fans I've read were not so unhappy with that because he did play a bit of a rigid system, so maybe it could get a bit monotonous at times. But I do think that they might struggle a bit, especially with the pace of the Premier League again. Then you have Spurs, and they've made one of the best signings of the window. A lot of people were complaining a little bit about the price. I personally think it's a great bit of business to sign Dominic Solanke. I think that he's going to fit right in, especially since Son plays better on the left. Like, he can play through the middle, but he really does best playing off of somebody, and Richarlison has kind of been in and out of the team. So I think like having that Son and Solanke link up is going to be massive, and I really think like they're going to pop off and do really well. So I do think that Spurs are going to take this game, and I've gone for a 3-0 Spurs win. So those are all of the fixtures. Again, let me know down in the comments what your score predictions are so that you can participate in the game and win some points for the chat. Let me know if you agree, disagree with all of this. I want to know. If you liked this video, do consider subscribing to the channel. Like I said, I'll be dropping this video weekly, every Thursday, Friday-ish, plus a Chelsea review video. Anyways, appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. Have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this, and until next time, I'm out. Bye!